Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome, or hopefully it's welcome back to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is the Listening Mentor. What is this show all about? We bring you people who I have designated as elevated listeners, people who have invested their time and money to learn how to listen, to give you a safe space to share. And these are people you should get to know immediately. Go over on LinkedIn and connect with them, do business with them, reach out to them, because they truly care and they will truly be authentically listening without judgment, listening without interrupting, and listening without trying to provide a solution you didn't ask for. They're my team members and my friends. Let's welcome today's guests. We've got elevated listener Caroline Heward. Welcome,
Hello.
the Harley Street stress expert. Good to see you.
Hello, everyone, and good to see you too.
Thank you. And we've also got Mariska Dupreez. Hello, Journey to Discover.
Hello, and thank you for having me back yet again for another week.
So much fun. It's almost like socializing with educational value, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I'm going to give you each an opportunity to talk a little bit about yourself and your work and why it's so important to be an elevated listener. I want our audience to know that today's topic is mindfulness and managing anxiety. Caroline, I'm going to start with you. Please tell us a little bit about your work helping people manage stress and anxiety and why you think it's important to be an elevated listener.
Hello, everybody. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful to be back here today on the day before New Year's Eve in England. And my work is managing your stress and anxiety and depression. But first of all, I want to say why it's important to be an elevated listener. And it's because most stress, anxiety, emotional, mental ache and pain reside either in the body, in the mind, or in the emotional body. And it's because we're not listening either to ourselves or to others. And so to listen to ourselves is highly important, and it's totally therapeutic. What I do is I help you understand where your root cause is, what started your physical, emotional, mental stress. And so in identifying root cause, it literally lifts the physical, emotional, mental pain, and you feel different, at peace again. Without that emotional, physical, mental pain, you feel amazing. And that is how nature made you to be, without any pain, and feeling wonderful, feeling peaceful, and feeling perfectly in your heart. That's Caroline Heward, the Harley Street stress expert. I can't wait to get going on this show.
Thank you so much, Caroline. And I think it's really timely that we're talking about these topics because we're coming to the end of the year. We're starting a new year, and we're still in the pandemic in many places in the world. And people are stressed out. People can't focus. And now it's like, oh, we're going into another year carrying forward the same things that we've been dealing with for all this time. So I'm glad you're both here. Mariska, let's move over to you. Talk to us a little bit about the work that you do and also why being an elevated listener is so important to you.
Well, I will start with the elevated listening bit. Firstly, I'm Mariska and I'm here in New Zealand, and I'm a leadership, business and transition coach. So one of the reasons for me that listening is important is not only to listen to others, but as Caroline mentioned, listening to ourselves. So noticing what is going on for us when we're in the moment, and the thoughts that we're having, and the mindset that we are applying in that moment, and then going from there. And if we can't listen to others, we most definitely not listening to ourselves. We're not giving ourselves the space to think about things that might be important to us, to evaluate what is it that I'm actually creating in this moment for myself and for those around me. And this is really important even when we think about going into 2022, the year that we have had in 2021. Just giving ourselves that space and ease makes it so much easier to approach life in general with a bit more caring and a bit more grace. So that is why listening is really important to me, and why I absolutely, when Jacalyn said, hey, we have this course going, went, yep, that's definitely something I need to do more of. So that's on that part. And of course, listening also helps me within what I do on a daily basis. So being a coach, I listen to others and provide that space for us to share and figure out what is happening. So that's me, and I'm very excited about today's show.
Brilliant. Thank you, both of you. I feel more peaceful just being around the two of you.
Oh, I kind of get that feedback all the time.
And it's not the palm trees in the sky, by the way. It's actually the two of you. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit. The title of our show, let me just share with people again, is Mindfulness and Managing Anxiety. So which comes first, with the chicken or the egg? Do you have to be mindful first, or do you have to manage anxiety first? What are your thoughts about that? I'll start with Caroline.
When we're born with no mind, and that's where all this physical and mental pain resides. And so when we're a baby, we're not anxious, we're not stressed, we're not any of those things, we're not in pain, we're very sensory. And it's about as we get older, things happen, things hit us, and it depends on how we manage that stress. And it's always about our response and our reaction. It's never about what's happening. It's about how we react and respond to whatever is happening. And anxiety resides in the mind. And so we're always generally at peace until something happens and something rocks our boat or destabilizes us. And when that something happens, that's when we can get off center and become diseased in the situation. Anxiety, essentially, I feel is more about when something happens that we can't work out, and it causes us to go off kilter, off our own balance. And then I would say mindfulness is more about the opportunities to look at how we can bring that back so that we're more balanced and stable again.
Thank you. Very profound. What would you like to add to that, Mariska?
Chickens and eggs. I am of the view that if we are mindful, the likelihood of us experiencing or going into a situation where we are feeling stressed is less likely. So doing it from the inside out, I mean, things are going to happen outside of us, right? We don't necessarily control virus evolution or hurricanes or natural disasters of any kind. The only thing we control is ourselves. And if we are mindful and look at what it is that we're thinking and sort of going, well, is this thought serving me or not serving me? And if it's not, then change it. There's nothing stopping us from changing it. Just letting it be, letting it go, and then going on to the next one. So, yeah, that's my view of the chicken and egg problem that we face so often.
I like it. And I'd like to just throw something else out there. I found that if we set our mind to something and we really believe in it, I'll give an example. I'm in the state of Florida, where everything's open and there's not a lot of masking and people have certain mindsets, which is very different than New Jersey, where I used to be. People wearing masks everywhere. There's a lot of fear. So when I go into a place to work out, for example, I am not going to be able to wear my mask because I'm not going to be able to breathe. I already say to myself, I'm not going to get the virus. I'm not going to be sick. I'm going in for a workout. And I see other people in there with the mask, like freaking out, looking around, like you can just tell they're. So I feel like when you're in that kind of frame of mind, you're already taking your immune system and weakening it. Whereas if you tell yourself, I'm strong, I'm capable, I'm good. If something happens, I'm going to deal with it. That for me seems to be working. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I am wholly in agreement with you. Whatever you focus on expands. So if you're focused on the negative outcomes will, whatever you're focused on will literally appear in your reality. And because everything is energy, everything is frequency. And so if you're focused on my immune system is really bad, I'm really in fear of getting an infection or a virus, then you're kind of inviting it in, because the mind does not know what's real or imagined. And so your thoughts will create. And so if you're thinking, I'm going to be sick, then you will be sick. And if you are thinking that you have a really good immune system and you're really healthy, then you will stay that way. You will stay really healthy with a high immune system. And the action then follows the thoughts and the behaviors and the feelings. And so if you're thinking you are well, you will tend to do things that elevate your being. So I'm thinking I'm well, and I've got a high immune system and I'm happy, so I'm singing and dancing.
And we know you love to sing and dance, that's for sure.
I sure do.
It's a good thing. It's beautiful.
And it elevates my feeling inside. And when your frequency, your feeling inside is good, then you don't tend to get stuff. But if you're focused like a pessimist, it's like the pessimist and the optimist. If you're sort of thinking that something is going to be bad and you're going to suffer with something and something's going to be a bad meeting, then hey presto, whatever you're focused on, you just bring it into your reality. And I know it sounds really simple, and it is, but we tend to, unless we've done some training or some whacked out crazy stuff like we've all done, then the mind tends to think on the negative. And so it's about, looking at it from the glass half full rather than glass half empty. And then you will create what you choose rather than what people are defining you to choose.
Good points. Thank you. By the way, Mariska, it's New Year's Eve there, isn't it?
It is.
I forgot that. Yay.
Happy New Year's Eve. Oh my gosh.
Happy New Year's Eve.
See, I'm always a day ahead of you guys.
I know. We need to contact you to tell us what's going to happen. No, I'm kidding.
Maybe I can give you some insight into 2022 when I'm there.
Yeah, you're getting there.
That's a great idea. I've got a lot of friends from different parts of the world: Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Vancouver, America. So I get messages come at me on Facebook at all sorts of times. From India as well. So they're chatting to me, and it's like sort of 3 a.m.
I know. I've done that with you as well.
Yeah.
Like she never sleeps. But Mariska, I'd like to go over to you and any comments that you'd like to add.
Well, I'm thinking that our thinking is really important. And sometimes we get stuck in it, right? We overthink things so much. And if we can just realize that it's a thought. It's a thought. That's it. It's not attached to you. It is not the end of the world if you let it go. It can go and it can be replaced with something else. And that's good. So something else might be something that brings different emotions and different sensations and different experiences that you will enjoy. So overthinking things is not really serving us at all, except if it is a place that you want to be stuck in, which normally when we're stuck in those situations, we don't want to be stuck in them. So yeah, being aware of how our thinking is influencing us and what it is creating for us is a very good first step to become aware of. And maybe that should be the thing to do in 2022, observing what it is that we think and whether it's serving us or not, and then letting it go if it's not, and going from there, being curious how I can change my thinking to be better in general.
I like that. And I think it's also important, you just mentioned about thoughts that we have, and sometimes they sort of just take over, right? We're so worried that something's going to happen that we can't sleep or we can't eat, and the thing never happens. We just spent all that time wasted because we build up all this anxiety and all this stress, and it never even happened. So I think we have to really evaluate that and also learn how to let it go quickly. And that's by working with somebody like the two of you. I think that's really important, that people have the capacity to learn, and you can learn from others who have made this their mission in life, to give back by helping other people learn how to let go of something, for example, or learn how to move on, or learn how to embrace, learn how to change. So Caroline, I'm going to start with you. How do you work with your clients, and what are some of the topics that typically come up that the client's focused on?
When I get an inquiry about somebody suffering with anxiety, for instance, anxiety is where there's an overthinking and an over-analysing, and they're generally thinking about, as you've quite rightly described, things that haven't happened, so future things. And they're living in the future of things that actually haven't happened. And so they're worrying constantly about stuff that hasn't happened. And sometimes people are stressed or depressed, and they are thinking and concerning themselves about things that have happened in the past. And so if you're in the future, thinking about things in the future, you're in anxiety. And if you're thinking about things and analysing things in the mind from the past, it'll be stress, and to the point of, if it's severe, depression. Now, the way that I get people to see that is that we were born present in our sensory. And I usually ask them, and it's just a point of reference for them, how much time do you spend thinking about future stuff? And how much time do you think about past stuff and past conversations? And they might turn around and say something like, oh, I'm worrying about all sorts of things, and I probably spend about 70% of my time there. Okay. So how much time do you spend in the past? Oh God, it's at least 50%. So my maths was never very good, but 70% of 50% makes 120% out of 100. And then I ask them, so how much time do you spend in this current moment? And that's a really short, sharp shock to them, because they're not present. They're not in the moment that they're in. They're either in the past or the future. And so they're not experiencing life. They're actually experiencing life through their mind, through the thinking, conversation, and analytical mind. So they're not actually experiencing life in their sensory or experiencing pleasure. They're experiencing everything through their mind. But the first step is awareness. And when they step into a space of awareness, that's when we can start doing something. Because if they're not aware, we can't solve what they're not aware of. And then we look at why. So I look at what made them escape the current moment. What was going on in their life, and when did it start? When did it change? When did they stop feeling and experiencing life through their sensories? And so it's a bit of a process, and at the same time, it's an awareness game, because we stop feeling when things go wrong and we can't cope. And that's the way I begin. I begin in a state of awareness, so they get understanding, insight, and that's when we can start changing what's not working for them.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm feeling very zen right now. You're very good at your work. I've worked with you myself. And I've also worked with Mariska. Mariska, how do you work with your clients? And what are some of the topics that come up for you with them?
So with my clients, there is cases where we work on not feeling confident, or not knowing how to communicate, or all these human things that come up and we overthink. And as Caroline mentioned, one of the biggest things is first becoming aware of what it is that we're doing and being in the moment, being just present with ourselves and being mindful of what it is that we're doing. Because as soon as you become mindful of what it is that you're doing and being in the present, we are so much more likely to change it. We are so much more likely to notice that something is starting to go wrong and going, hey, but this is not actually what I want to do. I want to have a good, engaging conversation with this person. And I'm not creating that at the moment. I'm just getting upset. And me being upset is not helping me. So maybe I need to take a little break just so I can actually gather myself again and be in the moment, and then come back to the conversation, or come back to whatever it is that I was doing. So that awareness, that making sure that we know what's going on around us and noticing those moments, and then starting to create the things that it is that we want to create, because we can all be loving. I mean, it's in every human being's capability to be loving. That's how we were born. So there's no excuse for us not to interact with each other in a space of caring and love. And yet we don't. There's a lot of times that we don't, because we get so caught up in our inner dialogues and our inner stuff, and we're not present. And we don't notice what it is that we are doing in that moment because we are not present. So being mindful, using that mindfulness, not only as a practice, thinking about it as, oh, I need to go and sit somewhere and meditate or do yoga or whatever the case might be that you associate with mindfulness. It is really being present and in the moment with that person. That's all it's about. That's all any of this is about. And as soon as we do that, our experience of life becomes so much fuller and richer and joyful, because we're creating something we enjoy doing. So, yeah.
Oh, I don't know, you guys. I'm going to have to go lie down. I wanted to share something with you both, and I noticed this myself, and I bring it up because no matter how much experience we have, sometimes we still fall into old patterns. I started swimming outside, in a pool, and I found myself just thinking about what I was going to be doing after I was done swimming. The whole time, like swimming, I have to do this and I have to do that. And I was looking up at the sky and I thought, wow, what a beautiful day. Look at these trees. I wasn't even acknowledging what was around me. I was just going through the motions, and we do that so often. And I pulled myself back in. I said, listen, we're going to enjoy this and appreciate this amazing space that we're in right now. We is the me. And that's what I did. I just focused on enjoying this, the fact that my lungs were working, the fact that I had this amazing opportunity to be outside and swimming when people are freezing. And I think that that's important to bring ourselves back to where we are, as opposed to all the distractions that are trying to pull at us, that we're letting pull at us.
I'm really in agreement with you, Dr. Jacalyn, and I've got a few things that I can share with you that I do. When I'm having a shower, I live on my own, so there's nobody to show up to, if you see what I mean, or to play up to. But I'm in the shower, and I like a hot shower, and the water is pouring on me, and I'm going, oh. Just in another zone, and I'm kind of moaning and groaning, and there's no one to hear that. It is totally for me. It is totally what I experience in my own body, of being in a hot shower and the water's just pouring on me. And, you know, when I'm having a meal, you know, I'm cooking for myself, and I do cook from raw, and I'll sometimes say, that's so tasty, you know. I'm sort of really in the experience of the sensory and in the experience of whatever I'm doing. And so if I'm watching a movie, I will start laughing, you know, and I'm laughing through the movie at the jokes. And I'm literally, you know, in the experience, almost as if I'm in the movie. And I watched a little bit of TV with my mum over Christmas, and I just couldn't stop laughing at some of the jokes. And it was making my mum laugh. And it's about, for me, it is about the full experience, you know, because we're here to experience. We're here to be in a sensory experience. And even walking up to the tube station, I'll talk to cats, dogs, children.
You're going to have you on the Pet Psychic show with Amina.
I will talk to the squirrels, and they come down and look at me very cheekily. But it's about, I almost feel it's about being in commune, really experiencing life in its every aspect, rather than just doing one thing but being distracted in another, because that isn't living. That's going in autopilot, as you described. And that's really important to me, that I'm experiencing life to its full in every aspect of what I do. I
really admire that about you, because I know that is how you live your life. And I wasn't kidding about Pet Psychic Amina. I've learned so much from her. And just to parlay to what you're saying, is now that I'm in this environment, there are lizards all over the place, little, medium size, and then there are the iguanas. And there have been 2 lizards in this house. And instead of me doing what I normally would do, which in past would be freaking out, screaming, Mom, or whomever I was with at the time, I just now talk to them. I go, hey, I'm going to call you Bob. Do me a favor, Bob. You can stay over there. It's cool. Just don't come into the bedroom or drop into the bed or jump into the shower. You can be in the house and do your thing, and that's fine. And then when I'm outside walking, I've seen these big iguanas. We have 2 on the roof, and one of them has this big, like, he must be the king of the iguanas or something. It's like this big, I don't know what it's called, with these gold things. I mean, quite magnificent. And I just look up and I say, Steve, I guess it's Steve, I don't know. It's fine that you are there on the roof, but when I'm coming into the house, please don't decide to do some jump and leap as opposed to me screaming. Yeah, it's like we can all coexist together, right? We just need to have some boundaries. I'm not going to bother you. You don't have to bother me. It sounds trite, but it's true.
It's so funny you talking about that, because we don't have iguanas in London, UK. We're a little bit more towny than that. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that jungle stuff. That's just not my thing. I've really been a townie. Is if a daddy long legs appears, and it appears in my bath. I mean, you know what? I do not share my bathroom with anyone.
Well, I don't think they swim, do they?
But the daddy long legs is in the bath, and it's very black against the white background. You know the daddy long legs is there, and the daddy long legs has 8 long legs, and I look at the daddy long legs. And when I was a child, and when I was at home, and I was with my family till I was 36, so I was always like it all the way through being at home. I would say, "Oh, help!" And I get my brothers to take out the daddy long legs and put it outside. I would never want them to kill them, just put them outside. Now I'm on my own. I have a different strategy. I turned around to the daddy long legs and I say, "Do you know what? You and me are going to share the shower. So you better just you just got to go." And I would be really, I would commune, I would literally speak and say, "Look, I know I have a nice bathroom, and I know I have a really nice bath and a really nice shower, but I can't share this with you. So you've got to go. Please go. Otherwise, you might not like what happens when the water comes down." And I did the same with a mouse. I had some nice problems because in these big old-fashioned Victorian properties, we have rats and mice in the cities. That's just how it is. And I had a mouse problem. And I was told that they were visiting me. They liked my supply of sugar, my very nice raw cane brown sugar that I kept for guests. And I did everything. I paid somebody to proof my property, and there was this mouse, and it came out from behind the washing machine. And I turned around and I said, "Look, you and me, we can't live in the same place. For one, you're not paying me rent, and it's pretty expensive here to live." I'm a bit of a comedian. I must say. But I really did this, and I said, "If you're not gone, by the time I get back," because I was going away for the day, "by the time I get back, you're going to force me to put down a humane trap." And I said, "I don't want to do that." I said, "So you have to pack your bags and go."
Take your cheese
and
leave.
And the next time I came back home, and the mouse wasn't there. And I do really believe, I know this might sound, I'm being a bit quirky about it, but I do really believe that that we're all here to coexist. Mm-hmm. And that if you kill another creature or animal or being, that it's not good, and so I do find myself, instead of being afraid and screaming and and doing all that stuff that I used to do, I usually kind of turn it into a comedian act and say, "Look, you gotta go. We can't stay together."
It works though. It works. It worked with me as well. I mean, the mouse is probably in there and the lizards are probably still here, but they're smart. They're staying hidden. Mariska, what about you?
Well, as Caroline was talking about her mouse encounter, it reminded me of when I was back in South Africa. So of course, in South Africa, there's a whole bunch of different critters and animals and everything everywhere. So while we were living on our farm, my cats used to enjoy bringing me presents. And normally the presents would be in the form of a mouse. My one brought in a bunny once, which we were able to rescue. But because they do this, what we used to do is at nighttime when we go to bed, we will put them in our bathroom, open the window so they can go in and out if they want, but the door would be closed in order for them not to bring anything into the house. Because if the mouse was not quite dead yet, they tend to crawl in, and if they were injured badly, they'll most probably die. And I did find one before going after the smell. So it's not a fun thing to be doing. So to prevent this from happening, I closed the bathroom door. And this one morning I came in and I saw the cats was sort of playing with something, wasn't quite sure what it was. Thought maybe bug, mice, don't know. Went in, closed the door again, of course, behind me because I saw the strange behavior. And lo and behold, there sat this wee little mice. And it was sitting like this. And it was looking up at me with these big eyes, just going, "Please, please, please, please get this cat away from me." Okay. So I took the cats, popped them out of the bathroom so that they're in the house away from the mice. And now I'm like, okay, so buddy, you won't be able to get out on your own. Me and you will need to work together, but I need you to sit still for long enough so I can actually catch you. Of course, we had to have this conversation a few times.
You had a dance going on, probably.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a, well, okay, you're going that way. Yeah, okay. Let's try this. So I ended up getting a towel and throwing it over and being able to rescue the poor thing. Luckily, there wasn't. I did a little examination before releasing just to make sure that at least he or she, I don't know what the gender was, will survive back in the wild. So we were quite okay. I didn't see any big problems. So I was able to release them back and close the windows so the cats stayed indoors for the next couple of days in order to let the poor fella escape wherever it is that he lived or she lived. So yes, your mouse story reminded me of that.
Well, you know what I like about all these stories that we've shared? We've all learned how to manage anxiety when it comes to cohabitating with creatures that we normally wouldn't be cohabitating with. And Caroline, you scared that you used to be a screamer. I was a screamer. I don't know about you, Mariska, but if I would see something, I would literally scream. It could be a spider. I'd be like, ah!
Yes, I was.
But we've learned how to manage that anxiety. And if you can learn to manage that, even, for example, with bees, I learned from Amina that when a bee lands on you, they're not trying to hurt you. You know, she asked me, what are you wearing? Well, I'm wearing black, or I'm wearing this. Well, they probably think you're a flower. You're something that they've come to land on. But I used to be like, get away from you, screaming and yelling. And then they're threatened, right? And then they sting you. Yeah. So if we take a deep breath and we calm ourselves down and we look at, you know, this creature's this big, and how big are we? And it's like that. We make problems so much bigger than they are. And if we learn how to look at things authentically and take the emotion out, that's what I always say to myself. I feel my pulse racing. I feel myself starting to sweat. And I'll say, take some deep breaths, take a step back, and look at the situation. But once you're all, you know, like you see a creature in your house, you can't really think about anything else. You have to calm down.
They can also smell the fear, and they will respond to that fear because they will feel threatened that you will do something to them. That I've been stung by wasps a few times, and the last time I was stung by a wasp, I was wearing all yellow. Hasten to add, I don't wear yellow very often these days. I was sitting outside drinking. It was a very hot summer day, and I was in all yellow top, yellow bottoms, and my friend said, "Thinks you're a flower."
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
And when I was very, very young, I got stung in the ear because I kind of, you know, sort of went like this, you know, as we do, don't we? We kind of wave our hands about. And then they feel threatened and they think that you're going to hurt them. And so they will sting as a response to not being hurt. You know, if you feel that you're going to be attacked by somebody, you will have your highest defense, won't you? It sort of made me see them a bit differently. And I have done some work around, you know, my fear of wasps and bees and snakes. And I've done a lot, you know, over the years, I've done a lot of work around those fears, to the point that I remember it was a hot summer day, and I had a lot of flowers outside on the balcony. And I really had this beautiful passion flower plant. And there was this huge bee, you know, huge bumblebee. And I remember just looking at it, going, oh, how beautiful. I'm just really looking at the bee in great detail. And my then husband turned around and he said, what happened to you? And I was just being. I wasn't thinking about the change. I was literally experiencing through a sensory experience. He said, that's not real. That's not normal. He said, you'd be screaming the place down normally. But, now you're looking and you're observing the beauty. And he says, what happened? What did you do? That's just not real. And it was because I had done some work around the fears of my fear of bees, wasps, spiders. And it works, because it's irrational. That fear is totally irrational when we consider the size. It's not real. And I remember where it came from. As a child, I remember my mum, she would hide and scream. So, of course, as children, we would do the same. And my mum still hides and screams. So we learn from our parents, our peers, and people that we're around a lot, and my mum screams when there's thunder. She'll hide, under the duvet. And that, I'm sure, came from something, from her childhood. And so we're naturally doing things that, we've learnt, and watch from other people. So I did really have to do some work on changing my response. But now I see the beauty in the wasps and the bees, and the creatures. And that's wonderful. That's a very different place to be, because it's totally irrational.
I really love how you changed your perspective and you did the work. And I think when it comes to listening, obviously there's work to be done. One thing another animal story I want to share again about the iguanas. I haven't lived here in Florida for years, but I did live here for a long time. And I was always terrified of these iguanas because they go right in the middle of the road. You're out running and they're right there. And it's like, so I did some research about them, and they can run up to 11 miles an hour. They have razor sharp teeth, and they use their tail to defend themselves. So they are herbivores, I guess is the word. They're not, and we're carnivores, so they're not going to eat us. But what I thought was so interesting, and I have a whole new respect for them as long as they stay where they are, is that they can actually purposefully break off their tail. And the tail can be, they grow up to be 6.6 feet long. So the tail's a big part of them. But the tail can actually be broken off if need be. And then they can run at 11 miles an hour without that big tail, and it grows back. I thought that was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like having your own sports car. It's like, I've got it in my purse. Let me jump in there, right? Take off without this tail. So,
wow.
Yeah, so now I have a lot of respect for them, and I don't have that fear coming off of me. Now, if it walked in here right now while I was doing this 6-foot long thing, walked in here, I don't know how I would be, but I would just try to do what I just said to you, because my point is, always trying to bring it back to listening and learning, is that we don't know what's going to happen to us from 1 minute to the next, but we can control how we respond, and how we respond based on how we manage anxiety and how mindful we are and how we work on these will determine what happens next.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Really, it is, everything happens, and there is a lot of stress, fear, panic, anxiety, that we've been going through since March 2020. Our whole world has completely changed upside down. And there are some people that are walking around in a lot of fear. And there are some people that are literally carrying on. And there are some people that they've lost their entire livelihoods. So there are very different responses on the spectrum. And I do feel that it's one of my ex-boyfriends, he would say things happen, and it's always about 90% of how you respond and react and 10% of what's actually happened. And, he hadn't done much work at all. He wasn't, that kind of person. But, sort of he learned some things because he suffered with high levels of stress and anxiety. And that his response, having done no work, was he'd learned it was about 90% of how he responded would create the experience of being able to deal with it or not. And one of his things in this time is he just doesn't switch on the news, which I think's a strategy.
Identify your triggers, be aware of them, and then don't engage with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all have them, we all have different ones, but we all have, our families and our loved ones know what our buttons are, and we can be pressed. And it's about how we respond to that creates our experiences. And it's always important. I always feel I feel that we all leave impressions, no matter what we do, what we say, even to strangers, while we're traveling, when we're buying something in a superstore, we're leaving an impression, a mark. And so I always consider, what impression am I leaving? Do I leave somebody feeling good, joyous, or do I leave somebody feeling not so good? And I like to feel that I leave people in a good place, and so that then in turn means that other people leave me in a good place too. Mm-hmm. Everything is a correlation. It's a response mechanism. I give good things to people to feel, and they give good things back. So I give joy, they give joy back. I'm always grateful. That's the other thing I want to say. Gratitude. Yes. If you are feeling, if somebody's done something good or said something good, to always say thank you. Our parents would say it costs nothing to say please, excuse me, because we're very British, and thank you, and to say thank you, when it lands on the other person, I think written is also just as important to say, I thank you for that, because it makes the other person feel really appreciated. And that's a vibration. Gratitude is a vibration. It makes you feel good, it makes them feel good, and the whole world feels good. So I don't just say these things, I practice them. And if I'm not feeling good, I will say why I'm not feeling good. And I will always say thank you for the person being there, for me. So I feel it is important to think about, what impression are you leaving behind with the other person? How do they feel about you?
So Caroline and Mariska, I think that's a great way for us to end this show. How would you like to have people leave 2022? What would you share with them? There's a lot of angst, as you know, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety. What can you share with people about how to leave that behind as we move into the next year?
I invite you to focus on what you want. Focus on what you want to experience, what you want to feel, and how you want others around you to feel. And be in that. One of the things that I want to feel is joy and gratitude and happiness and love. And we are love. And so we're made from love. And so if you are at one with yourself, if you are feeling peaceful and loving, then the whole world becomes peaceful and loving back to you. The world, the universe responds to your song. And my invitation is for you to choose the song that resonates in the space of love and inner peace and inner joy.
Thank you, Caroline. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
They can reach me on mobile, which is +44 7523 120 189. Or more appropriately, because it's easier to get hold of me this way, by email. And it's nomorestress, the 3 words, nomorestress, @live.co.uk. I'm offering a free stress bust consultation on Zoom, a free 30-minute stress bust consultation. So book in so that our timings work, because I know that this is a global audience. So book in by emailing me at nomorestress@live.co.uk to book in a time that works for you and for me. And I'd be really happy to help you move into 2022 in the best way possible.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Always a pleasure. Mariska, how about you?
Well, 2021, I'm sure something great happened. And it might just be that you woke up today. So 2021 the way to leave it, seeing as I'm on the very last day of 2021, actually. Looking at what we can be grateful for, what the year brought us, what we learned, what it was trying to teach us. And I'm sure you will find something that you will be grateful for within the year 2021. As I said, it might be as small and insignificant as waking up, which is actually not small or insignificant when you think about it. So that's the way that I would leave 2021. And of course, for 2022, as Caroline mentioned, being intentional with what it is that you want to create and thinking on how you want to do this. And choose a word. Choose a word that you want to live your year by, whatever that word might be. And we might not get it right all the time, but it is something to aspire to, whether it be to be more joyous, whether it be to create more happiness around us, or just to be more happy ourselves. And preferably a word that doesn't have a not in front of it, because the action word is the word that we will create more of. So think about that for your upcoming year. And then also, if you want some assistance in your 2022 planning, I'm doing a free consultation for 2022 planning and transitioning. So if there's any place that you want to transition into something a little bit different, have a project that you're working on, please do contact me. So you can get hold of me easiest way. Again, global audience makes it nice and easy. You can email me any time or day for you. As soon as I wake up and during my day, I will be able to get the messages. Is Mariska at journeytodiscover.com, and then the journey to discover 2 is the number 2. And yeah, you can book in a time that suits you, and preferably when I'm awake. I'm not the best at 2 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't work for me. My husband can attest to that. Normally I'm sound asleep.
That's a good thing. We need our sleep for sure. Well, I want to thank you both. I have really enjoyed working with you and laughing with you and having these sessions with you. And I hope you'll come back next year. We have 5 listening mentor sessions a week. We'll be broadcasting 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And the launch of USA Global TV is taking place on January the 10th. And Mariska will be joining our team of co-hosts. So we're very excited about that. Also, we have a big event coming up on the 1st, which is our reunion show. It's open to everyone. We have only 2 spots left, 2 spots. So if you want to be on there, you've got to go over to Eventbrite. And I think I never have my own banners. I don't know why. I think I have a banner for that. Here it is. So you can just go to Eventbrite, put in USA Global TV, and it'll come up because that's the only one we're doing for that. So if you want to be able to come on and promote your service, your business, your product, it's all about promoting. It's not about interviewing. Okay, so we hope we'll see you there. And that's all. We'll be back tomorrow with the full day of broadcasting. We'll be back with the listening mentor. And if you want to become an elevated listener, you have that option too. Wow, what can you do? You can go over to Eventbrite. What a surprise. And you can put in the power of listening. And this course will come up. Our next one is January the 5th. And we'll also be rolling out after this for people who are elevated listeners like these 2 lovely ladies. You'll be able to be on our game show, the listening game show. And you'll also be able to be featured in my new book on listening that is for children. So you'll have an actual animal that will be named after you, and you'll get to write some of the dialogue of what the animal says in the book. So, all right, they're the only messages I have for today. Happy New Year to both of you. And to the rest of you, I will be here broadcasting tomorrow and the next day. So New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. All right.
Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you so much. I've had such fun. Dr. Jacalyn, it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you
Happy
so
New
much.
Year.
Happy New Year to everyone. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.
See you in 2022. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.